All right, welcome to another video from the chart reader. So today we are going to look at the major markets. So we'll use a mix of ETFs like we have here on QQQ, as well as the majors themselves, the NASDAQ, S&P, and the Dow. Hey, if you can you please like this video? It'll do really good things for the YouTube stuff. And I didn't make videos a couple days ago, and I think YouTube's a little mad at me, so much appreciated. Nonetheless, we will do what we always do, right? We will look at the daily and the weekly for some good swings, hopefully, see our 5 moving averages, our horizontal support and resistance lines, and then when we're done up here, we'll use the MACD and the RSI as our lower indicators. Again, 80% of the work is up here. This is the last 20, right? That like cherry on top. So the last video I made was around the 15th, I think. So I don't know if it was before or after the trading day, right? But you can see this is a pretty good setup, actually. I know it looks a little negative because you see the fail of the 100, but I like how it failed, for lack of words, right? So again, just kind of taking it back to right here. We were under all 4 moving averages, right? From there, we have a monster fly and really make our way up to the 200, the 100 in blue, right? We do fail it. We open above it, but obviously we close under it and then start making our way down. However, we use the 8 as a perfect bounce, right? I actually like that. That's how this is supposed to work. Once you lose the 8, lose the 8, lose the 8, it's so hard just to stay over it. Here, it's kind of the first attempts of trying to get over it, definitely fails it. Here, it gets over it again and actually uses it, right? That's huge. It starts to mean that the 8 is real, right? It's actually going to be your moving support line up versus my only horizontal stagnant support and resistances, right? So that's why we like the 8. The 8 moves up with the uptrend and it helps us bounce and continue the uptrend, right? So it's a beautiful thing when it works out well. And here it seems like it did, which is great for QQQ. Obviously, QQQ is tied to NASDAQ if you've seen these videos enough. And looking at the NASDAQ composite, the exact same thing, right? You're a little horizontal, you actually lose it. You go up, you don't actually get over the 100, right? So the QQQ opened up here, but still failed. This one actually never got over it, right? So that's technically not a real test. Nonetheless, it drops and uses the 8. You can kind of call it a mix of the 8 and the 50, but I'm going to say more the 8 because it actually never hits the 50, right? And then again, just kind of continues up. I like that. Now, the question becomes one of two things. Are we just doing a bunch of horizontal trading, which really is something I said a couple weeks ago, right? This month seemed like it was going to be horizontal, and so far it really has been. It's almost exactly riding this line, right? Kind of starting to look like we're going up from it, right? Because again, we've been stuck right here. We're actually under that point right now. But the 8's been down here, right? If the 8 can actually start doing that, hey, maybe we'll get away from this, which is ultimately what you want if you are a stock trader, right? You want these to be good in order for your individual stocks to be good, right? Where are we on the weekly? Look, we're at a really important place on the weekly, right? The 200 is a really important one to break. It's obviously the last one for a reason, right? And getting over it is no joke. We definitely got over it 2 weeks ago, but not the confirmation we wanted to see come close of Friday, right? I don't like that. I really wish it happened. Nonetheless, there's still a little bit of an uptrend happening. It's not immaculate, right? But it's kind of there. And I mean, look, at the very minimum, instead of dropping, at least this is starting to go horizontal, right? And we've always said it, once it goes horizontal, it'll either go like that or like that, right? So just watch it. I like that we're kind of doing this little uptrend thing, but we've said it here, nothing matters until we get over the 200, right? And let me just kind of zoom out and show why. So again, from January, we're here, yep, using that green point and coming all the way through. We'll hit right there as well, way below this downtrend, right? We're I mean, maybe halfway there, almost maybe like 30% there, give or take, right? So still a lot to go before, you know, we're jumping for joy here, right? Way below these golden lines is where we want to be. So not necessarily a good thing, but again, if we can start the uptrend, that is good for individual stocks. Look, QQQ, I'm not going to go over too much because it's pretty much the exact same thing that I had said, but one more time. Oh, hey, look at this. QQQ actually gave us good confirmation of the 200 break. Now look, I've said it a bunch of times, this is a doji, so doji cannot be used as real confirmation. So what I just said was wrong, and I'm quickly taking it back, okay? This is not good confirmation. It quickly fooled me, but again, the excitement trickles away once reality slaps you in the face, right? So again, you cannot use this as confirmation. I'm real happy to see it closed, you know, as high as it did. Obviously, I wish it closed up here, right? I wish it closed over the candle. But hey, 50% right here. At least it didn't doji down here. But one more time, this does not count. I need to wait for next week. And going back to NASDAQ, right, the comp Q, that one definitely didn't do it. So something to be said there. SPY. Okay, SPY actually looks all right on the daily. So let's talk about this a little bit, right? What was happening? A little bit of horizontal, definitely breaks the 100 and actually uses the 100 as the bounce point. I do like that. Again, there is a bit of a cluster here, right? So there was the 8, there was the 100, and then there was my single line, right? Let me zoom out a bit to see how this 100's played out a bit. Okay, we've definitely had a break of it before, and then a fail, a break, and then a fail, a break and a bounce of the 100. I do like that. And I'm really glad that we actually got over the 8 on both days. So overall, I'll take that as a victory. I like that it's kind of trying to peek up on the RSI, but again, look how horizontal that RSI is, right? These are a little too insignificant to use. I'm just really happy the MACD is at least positive, and I do see green over red. I will take that, but again, 80% of the work's up here, and right now it's just a fight of moving averages, right? We're definitely on the better side of this cluster, right? We have 4 lines right here, and we're trading above them, so that is good. And then, hey, the 200 is not that far away, okay? Real important to break the 200, right? This one was looking a little better in terms of trend line. So again, from January, coming down, we got to hit this guy. Okay, yeah, so this one also does need to get over, the 200. Okay, nonetheless, look, it's closer than the NASDAQ and QQQ are, right? NASDAQ, QQQ is probably down here. It'd be really cool to see the same gap up like that over the 100, right? Just throwing that out there. Will it happen? Hey, we'll find out. But again, still a lot to go before we're jumping for joy, right? And I'm going to just keep this line right here and go to the SP-500 real quick. Dun, dun, dun. Cool, look at that. Not quite exact. Yeah, I think I would have to lift the line a little bit. I think we have to go a little higher to hit this candle, not the tip of that, right? Nonetheless, I think the statement's still there. Not quite under the downtrend, definitely closer than NASDAQ is though, right? So again, a lot of that matters because I always say they all need to be in the same place before we jump for joy, right? There were moments where NASDAQ was the only one below the death line. Right now, we're wanting all of them to get above the downtrend, right? So just keep that in mind. How do I get rid of this line? Sorry about that. There we go. But again, look, sticking with the SP-500, we saw it on the ETF SPY. We see the same thing here, right? This one bounces, I would say, a little more on the 8. Definitely tests the 100 itself, though, right? So you can kind of say it bounces off both. Nonetheless, breaks it, comes down and goes back up. That's a very common pattern, and it actually is a pattern we like to see. And look, I didn't say it on the last couple tickers, but look, golden cross right there where the 8 goes over the 100. That's beautiful. Golden cross right there where the 20 goes over the 50. That's beautiful, right? We like it when lower moving averages break above bigger moving averages. So still a good amount to be bullish about. Again, we see the super tight RSI, so I'm not going to use that much, but for now, just keep riding the moving averages, keep staying above all four, and I'll actually be happy until I see a reason not to be, right? I'm going to go back to SPY and talk about the weekly real quick. Hey, this is a nice weekly. Again, one more time, it's a doji, so it doesn't count, right? Cannot use a doji as your confirmation. I like this uptrend we've been having since this 200 bounce, but look, we failed the 20 here. Looks like we broke it, but not real confirmation. And look, there was a moment where it actually went under the 20 in the week, right? So definitely a lot of uncertainty, definitely why we can't use this as confirmation. Next week really matters. And believe me when I say we got to stay over the 20. Really important, right? Again, I know the green is under the red, but I'm just kind of taking it all as this horizontal tightness and just kind of still not really regarding these too much. I'm happy that this is green over red and actually still a nice uptrend too, but in the negative, right? And again, it's nothing spectacular until both of these say the same thing for me. So yeah, SPY still all right, but last week was a little uncertain. And this week will matter. And we actually said the same thing on NASDAQ. So I imagine we'll see that same doji on the DIA. I actually regret not starting on the weekly with the DIA. Let me just do it real quick. Let's do it together. Again, I know this is a green doji and the other ones were red dojis. Nonetheless, I don't care. You cannot use this as confirmation. Look, we broke 2 moving averages last week. This is way too weak a confirmation for 1, let alone 2 lines, right? So again, still beating the same drum because it still matters. Nonetheless, okay, I like what looks like might be a golden cross if it happens, right? A lot needs to happen, so that's a bit more than a bit more of a gap than ideal, but just one more time, focusing here, this is not good confirmation, especially on a 2-line break, okay? So keep that in mind, and again, next week looks like it's going to be pretty important. Next week is also a short week, so that might be a real problem, right? So it needs to start and end well because, again, there is a holiday on the U.S. side, and, you know, that again, kills time. Look, on the better side of all 5 moving averages, that's a beautiful thing, right? I was trying to zoom out to just show it. Look, nothing but just clear up there, right? Yeah, I have my 2 lines, but again, it's harder to break these computer generated lines than my, you know, stagnant lines, right? So that said, look, we've seen a bunch of times where my lines have been correct, so I'm not trying to downplay mine, but being above all the moving averages is a great thing. That's really more of the point. That said, look, I mean, we didn't really bounce. I mean, sorry, we did. We bounced pretty well off of nothing, right? I would say under the 8, but bounced well. Not a good day after, right? So again, I think a lot matters tomorrow. I'm still overall, I think, bullish on a lot of these. But if Monday does not play out well, Tuesday and Wednesday probably will not either. So, just watch the setups. Nothing is screaming bad. Everyone's over the 8. Everyone did this little healthy bounce, right? I'm liking what I'm seeing across the 3. It's just these weeklies are a little odd. And the short week next week can definitely be interesting unless we start really well, right? So last thing we're going to look at is the Russell. I still need to figure out what the actual Russell is. The non-ETF on this program that I'm using. But hey, look, okay, this one, interesting. This one got a little higher than the SP-500, right? This one actually hit the 200, never really broke with confirmation, right? But it at least was able to go horizontal for about 3 days before that little bad day and under, right? But once it loses it, look, it got a nice little bounce. And is it over the 8 right now? Let me see that. We got to go in. Oh, so we're right on the 8. Hey, look, I would rather be on the 8 than under the 8, but being on the 8 is not a break, right? It's really goes back to what we were saying. It ended so what's the word? There was so much uncertainty, right? And I think this speaks to a lot of it. Does it want to go over the 8? Does it want to go under the 8? You know what? Let's just sit on the 8 and see how Monday plays out, right? I think that's actually a hilarious way to end this video. I am going to look at the weekly real quick, but look, this is not as loud a doji because the middle is a little bigger than we've seen. But look, when you've got an extreme wick up, an extreme wick down, and then a relatively small middle, excuse me, that's not good confirmation, right? And again, look, you have to see the way that this happened. So we break 2 lines, we lose 2 lines, we break 2 lines. I would want better confirmation on the weekly. This was way, like, how do I say this? This was a less doji than the other dojis, but nonetheless, we broke 2 moving averages. I need better confirmation. And look, the fact that the 50 was right there might be why this is here, right? It's really hard to break 2 and then break the 3rd one with that confirmation, right? So, hey, maybe this was a little bit of a, let me take a breather before I go back up, but this doesn't count. We saw that across all of them on the weekly, so keep that in mind. Short trading week next week. So again, if this doesn't start well on Monday, there's worry that it might look bad on the candle, right? That said, everything still looks okay because of the bounces that we saw, right? Break something, come down, and go back up. But again, the fact that this landed right on it, I think is a good way to end, right? Everyone wants to see how Monday plays out before they move. So trade safely out there. Hey, if you stay to the end, please like this video. It'll actually do really good things for it. And again, I sincerely appreciate your time. So thank you so much.